Alrighty, welcome back everyone to the Second Take podcast. My name is Casey.
What's up, everybody? It's Alex.
And as you guys know, we are with the George Washington Sports Business Association, and we have our big conference coming up this week, the SYNC conference. If you're still interested in volunteering, now is about your last time to sign up. And it's a conference with over 100 plus industry professionals across agencies, sports teams, you name it. They're going to be there. It's an outstanding opportunity if you're looking for a career in sports, and I highly, highly recommend you sign up if you are interested. Now, it's going to be a mainly NBA-centric episode again, but big shout-out to Team USA, bringing home the gold for the guys back home. Love to see that. First since 1980. It just, it brings a smile to your face.
Right. Yeah, it's really, beautiful, not only to do it in women's hockey, but to do it in men's, to bring home with these, and I think it does a lot for the sport of hockey as well, having these two exciting, overtime endings. People like me who are less interested in hockey, this kind of incentivizes us to give it another try. So huge win for USA, huge win for sports. But like Casey said, we're in a bit of a rut right now. MLB spring training has just started. Not long enough for us to have any, really actionable, insights to talk about. So today we're going to be talking about NBA, and we want to start off with something interesting. So on February 19th, Shams Charania came out with a tweet that was talking about a GM meeting on a Thursday, just talking about how do we combat tanking. That has been, the major storyline.
It's so bad.
It
is so bad.
Yeah.
You saw Sabonis and DeRozan, or Sabonis and Levine both go out with season-ending injuries on the same day. Pascal Siakam's being held out of games, which I need him for. I have you in fantasy, Pascal. Stay out there. The Jazz, they trade for Jaren Jackson, and they sit him every fourth quarter and then announce season-ending knee injury. I mean, it is genuinely, disgusting. I've never seen it like this. Like the Wizards, they're going out, they're playing, they're actual starters for about 18 minutes a game, and then the rest is just bench guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how they don't get penalized more for this. I know we touched on this a couple episodes ago, but it was a $500,000 fine. What is that gonna do?
Yeah,
I don't understand. But yes, anyways, we have this list that Shams put out. If you want to kick off the first one, and we can give our takes on what we think of each.
Yeah, so there's a list of about 7 to 8 proposed solutions here. So we can go ahead and start by talking about first-round picks can only be protected in the top 4 or top 14 plus. So this is, engineered to kind of combat the teams that are aiming for those mid-lottery picks. I know specifically this first-round pick that was exchanged between Indiana in Los Angeles in the Zubats trade, it's kind of protected for that 5 to 8 range. So that's a huge piece of what's going on here. So it's an interesting proposal because it's not targeting the bottom teams who are going to be in that highest competition for the first round pick, but rather the teams that are just kind of aiming for these mid lottery picks that could be competing. So this is interesting, but I don't really see this moving the needle for me. I don't know how you feel about this, but
I don't think that makes that big of a change. I don't think that addresses, the elephant in the room, which is, basically just sitting your star players, and you can, play it off as we're giving our young stars some burn. That's not how it goes. I mean, I don't think that this is a bad idea by any means, but I don't think it solves the overarching issue. Which, speaking of which, neither does the next one, which is lottery odds freeze at the trade deadline or a later date. That's awful.
Yeah,
they can't do that.
Right. This is just begging for almost half of the NBA season. I guess closer to a third of the NBA season to just be meaningless basketball.
Yeah,
and that would be the good outcome, because then the other outcome is that the first half of the season is just a tankathon.
Yep.
This is just shortening the deadline and then leaving some longer period to be maybe a decent period of basketball, but this is just honestly making a bad problem worse.
Mm-hmm. That there's no way they go through with that.
No.
I'm confident they don't do that one.
That's just ridiculous.
Probably not the next one either. No longer allowing a team to pick top 4 in consecutive years or after consecutive bottom 3 finishes. Once again, that's not really fair. Look at the Pistons 2 years ago, right? I mean, Jaden Ivey didn't really do anything that much to shake up the franchise, but you take that team 2021, 2022, both years bottom of the league. The Rockets, both those 2 years had the worst record in the league.
Right.
You think about, I mean, not that they really got their way out of it too well, but when the Knicks were kind of in the gutter, they were the worst team in the league basically almost 3 years in a row.
Right.
If you say you miss on one of your top 3 draft picks, it turns out he's a bust, and then, you get an Anthony Bennett, or you get I don't know. I mean, the list goes on. But either way, it's not fair to teams that like actually suck.
Yeah.
Like the Pacers are giving, kind of a bad rep for this stuff. Like look at the Kings this year. A very ethical tank. They're out there. They're playing their three guys. Three guys who, 2 years ago were considered all-stars if they weren't all-stars. And they suck.
Yeah.
They just suck. And like, unfortunate for Kings fans. I'm sorry, Sacramento. But it just wouldn't be fair to them to say, get a, top 3 pick this year. And they get one of those guys. But then, how are you going to compliment him if you can't make the top 4 in consecutive years? I almost feel like teams could start like planning when they suck.
Right. Yeah. I completely agree with you here in that it's just overly critical of teams that are just ethically bad, right?
The Wizards.
Such as teams like the Wizards. And I think this is just kind of counterintuitive to the idea of the draft, which is just funnel the top talent to the worst teams in the league, the teams that need it the most. So to me, it's kind of arbitrary, especially because you're locking teams in the top 4. But I feel like it's not so often that a team gets a top 4 pick and that player doesn't end up being enough of a difference maker that they're kind of returned to those in the like bottom 3 or top 4 in the draft position. I think this is just kind of a strange choice, and it's not really punishing. It's not about punishing the teams that are like actually terrible. It's about punishing the teams who could be better and are instead choosing to worsen their record so they could get a better pick. So this one isn't really moving the needle for me.
Yeah, I agree. And then there's 2 right below it that I actually do agree with. I'm going to jump just ahead to the bottom one real quick. Flatten out troll lottery teams. That's so stupid. Like, look at the Mavs last year. They made the play-in, didn't get in, of course, but like they still ended up with the number 1 overall pick. Like, yeah, whatever. You could say it's already rigged anyways, but once again, it's not fair to the teams that actually suck.
Yeah.
Like, your Hornets, not the Hornets this year, but like, the past few. But you got your Hornets, your Wizards, your Kings. The Pelicans have been off for the past couple of years. And if they're getting the same odds as, I don't know, say like the Grizzlies, I guess. I mean, the Grizzlies are pretty bad, but I mean, regardless, you kind of see my point where like teams at the top of the lottery who have, say, 30-something wins should not be in the same category as a team with 15.
Right.
And then lottery extended to include all play-in teams. What do you think about
that? It's interesting because in total, that would include what, like 14 to 16 teams.
That's 16 teams. Yeah.
It's just a lot.
Yeah, 16.
And I'm not necessarily against it. It's just this isn't going to curb tanking. If anything, why would, if you're a team, if your performance in the play-in is going to get you a lower draft spot and you're not going to compete, why would you want to compete in the play-in? To me, this is almost making it worse now the more that I think about it. To me, as a team, if I know I'm not going to do anything, but I find myself in the play-in, why would I play hard in the play-in and potentially win a game and lower my draft stock if we know we're not going to compete against other teams once we make it out of the play-in?
Yeah.
I find that interesting. And then once you're out of the play-in, even without the lottery involved, your draft stock is only getting worse and worse and worse. So this one is just kind of strange. It's not an idea that's like, I guess, inherently bad, but I just don't really see it as a fix to tanking.
I don't either. I don't know why that was in there.
This is kind of confusing.
Like when I read that, the first thing that came to my head was imagine like, say, this all existed in like 2016. Imagine you're like the 9 seed. You got to the final play-in game for that 8 seed.
Yeah.
You win, you get to go play the Warriors, you're going to get swept, or you get a chance at the number 1 overall pick if, like lottery odds are flattened.
Right.
I don't know. That one doesn't make sense. But these 2 actually right here, I'm personally a fan of. So teams can't pick top 4 the year after making the conference finals. Now, I don't know if this is just an omission from Adam Silver that like he gave the Maverick Scuba flag for giving LA their new star, but I actually don't think that's an awful idea, quite honestly.
The idea specifically, I'm not so much of a fan of because it feels, I've watched videos on this already, so I'm kind of more like, I guess, tuned into what the inherent issues are with these. But this one, I've heard a lot of people say is very, very tailored towards the Pacers.
Yeah, it is.
From what they're doing this year. So maybe the specificity of it, I'm not a fan of, like how it specifically tailors. Especially,
I hate the Pacers. Yeah. I'm with it.
Because conference finals to me seems kind of arbitrary. Like if anything, I would want to expand that. But even then, that's punishing franchises for injuries to like franchise players, which I'm not so much of a fan of. But this idea of you can't go from imminent success straight to the top of the draft, like such as the Mavericks, who were still in the playoffs with Luka Doncic despite being a year or two removed from that finals run. I agree with the principal idea there of like the Mavericks shouldn't have been able to jump from playoffs to number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
And now, but I mean, there was
the play-in. They were a game away from making the playoffs,
right.
and they end up with the number 1 overall pick. I thought that was gross. And then the last one, just real quick, lottery odds allocated based on 2-year records. Now, I don't know if that would go into effect this year or last. I'd have to I'd probably have to think about this more, but from face value, I actually don't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that because that shows like actual structural, like you guys suck, like kind of culture.
Exactly.
And I think that could be a fix, but I think out of all of them, that's probably the only one I could see being viably implemented.
Mm-hmm. And I'm with you. I think this is the best one on the list. My worry is that it's just gonna encourage prolonged tanking.
Yeah.
Like as opposed to a team tanking for 1 year to get a better player. Now they're gonna have to, tank for 2 years to have a shot at that player. So that's my worry about just encouraging more of the like longevity based tanking rather than just one terrible season that fans have to stomach. But I feel like with the NBA, that's just kind of what you're going to get. As teams, you want to funnel talent to your team, especially I feel like free agency and salary caps in the NBA. It's much harder than a sport like football or baseball to really bring in talent that's not via the draft. So I'm with you. I think this is one of the best ideas on here. I think it needs to be refined a little bit. But I think extending it past just a 1 season scope is one of the better ideas on here to curb tanking.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there'll be updates about that coming up soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'm sure we'll have something to say, once any specific rulings have been put out by the league. But moving on, we wanted to do another segment. Like we said, there's only been a few games since our last podcast, and there's been nothing notable besides the massacre at Madison Square Garden. I'll bring it up. I know I said I didn't want to, but Cade Cunningham went out and said he's the best player, or the best American player, goes and drops 42-13 on the Knicks, which actually does kind of lead us into our next segment, but I just kind of wanted to touch on whether you think he's better than Anthony Edwards or not, because those are probably the top 2 American players right now, consensus, unless, maybe you want to sprinkle in some Kawhi in there. But I'm personally going to go with the young guns here just because of availability.
Right.
Who do you think's better? I kind of think it's Cade. Is that crazy?
I don't think it's insane, but I think if you're saying Cade Cunningham is better than Ant, it has to be kind of via projection. Like, I think right now, Anthony Edwards is the better player. But I think in 2 years when we, are going to be thinking about the NBA in a different context, especially in context of the 2028 Olympics, which we're about to talk about in a second, I think there's a chance that Cade Cunningham is better. But what Anthony Edwards gives a team is unbelievable athleticism, one of the most talented isolation scorers in the entire league. And then somehow magically, over the last 2 seasons, he's just developed a 40% three-point stroke. Like, it is just unbelievable. And I'm not saying Cade can't get there. Like, as an offensive facilitator, as a ball handler, Cade Cunningham is the better player. But as of right now, I am just going to slightly give the edge to Edwards. Just because of the shooting, the isolation scoring, and I just think he's shown a little bit more. Obviously, the Pistons are still a young team, and Anthony Edwards has had a competing roster with them ever since he came into the league.
Yeah,
but they've been further. I'm still going to give them the edge right now. But I mean, what a fun race between the two of them, since this is, I feel like, kind of maybe a mini rivalry brewing between the two.
I don't think, maybe not rivalry. I mean, if they made a finals, sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like, for me, it's tough. I kind of have them at that 5-6 spot, and when ranking your top players in the league behind, your big 4 of, in no order, Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Shea.
Yep.
I have those 2, right after that. I was pushing Brunson's better than Cade at the start of the season. I can't pull that anymore. I'll put that to rest. Brunson's still top 10, though. Keep that in mind.
Whoa. That might be a discussion for another day.
Either way. Yeah, but that does lead us into our next thing. So ESPN recently released an article predicting the 2028 Olympic roster. Now, it's an interesting article. I would say I agree with maybe half of the list of the 12 that they chose. So just to run it through for you, they got I'm gonna try to go in order of most, understandable to least.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Jason Tatum.
Right.
Yeah. Bam Adebayo. He's probably the best American big man at this point.
Yep.
Anthony Davis can be 35.
Exactly.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Yep.
He's, the best playmaker on that squad. They need him. Chet Holmgren as that backup big. Not that I'm huge on that, but I mean,
the options are slim right now.
the options are kind of slim. Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham.
Right.
I think Cooper Flagg will get there.
Right.
I think he's special. And now there's some on here that'll raise some eyebrows. So you've, first of all, Knuppel. It's not crazy. It's not crazy just because he's a really good shooter, but it seems we're kind of jumping the gun here.
It's a
But
bit early.
That's what he's
Very
does.
early.
Jalen Duren.
Early.
Is he good enough
Early.
to be on the Olympic roster? He's a great center, but
It's early.
it's early.
It's expecting a lot out.
Amen Thompson.
Early.
Let's pump the brakes. Scotty Barnes. I don't think.
It's
I think he'll, as a gadget guy,
Yeah.
kind of similar to how Devin Booker played in the 2024 Olympics,
Right.
who is not on the list, which is ridiculous.
We'll talk about that.
I think Scotty Barnes actually does deserve a spot on the roster.
Yeah, you need your 3-and-D guys. He's a great pick.
And then last and least, Jalen Williams. Absolutely not.
Oh, my God.
No. They have Jalen Williams on that list over the likes of, I'm not kidding here, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Johnson, Devin Booker, Tyrese Maxey, and Kevin Durant.
Disgusting.
I know Kevin Durant will be 38 at the time. I don't think it matters.
He'll be even older. I think he'll be closer to 40, but
Yeah.
he still earns that spot. So I guess
You also need a veteran presence.
yeah, exactly.
Jason Tatum to be the leader? No.
Right.
No, I don't.
And I agree with you. I think this list is just way too projectionary. I don't know if that's a word. It's too heavy on the projections, right? Because not a single player on this team is above the age of 30.
Wait, I'm sorry. Do you remember in Paris when LeBron was carrying the flag at the front of the boat? I swear to God, if I see Jason Tatum doing that, I am rooting for France.
It's hard to watch
I cannot.
or hard to imagine, I guess. But I mean, the oldest player on here is Tatum at 30.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum, the oldest player on the Olympics roster, he really did not get ticked, not to justify what Steve Kerr did with the rosters, but he did not get any tick in 2024, and now he's expected to lead the team in 2028. It's just kind of confusing. But I guess we could start by talking about some of the more controversial players. So one that I guess we both definitely agree on is Jalen Williams,
Boo.
which is. So, I mean, hats off to J-Dub. He's a great player.
He is,
but
he is.
in terms of his player profile, not only is he not, in my opinion, a high enough quality player to warrant an Olympic spot, not only now, but how I see him progressing in 2 years, it's just the shot diet, the archetype of a player just doesn't make sense for the Olympics. J-Dub is just pure tough shot maker. That's what he's known for. Contested middies, all these low percentage shots, these, finishes at the rim that are just so low percentage, and he makes all of them. But you compare him to a guy like Scotty Barnes, who I think absolutely deserves his roster spot because of the three-point shooting, the defense, everything. It's like, I just feel like J-Dub being a lock on this roster, it is kind of ridiculous.
I find it ridiculous too. Not that I want to, take anything away from Jalen Williams' game. I think he's a fantastic basketball player. Great isolation scorer and great isolation defender. But you have guys on the roster that can do that already. You have Cooper Flagg, who is, I think, going to become a top 10 defender in the next couple of years. Scotty Barnes is already top 5. If, God forbid, Amen Thompson makes it, you have him there. And then Bam and Chet Holmgren manning the paint, with besides France and Serbia, there aren't going to be many other teams that can stand up to that, big man rotation defensively. So I don't really understand why take a Jalen Williams type over, Devin Booker, Jalen Johnson, Jaylen Brown, 3 guys who I think are all better scorers of the basketball than Jalen Williams.
Absolutely.
Who are, they're all putting up more points as, first options as well. I don't really understand. I think they have enough defensive talent there. And also, Jaylen Brown is an outstanding defender. And this is coming from someone who hates Jaylen Brown. Hate him more than Tatum.
Wow. Really? That might be a jump.
I
kind of came around on Tatum.
I hate both of them.
Is that crazy to say? I came around.
I felt bad when Tatum got injured.
Yeah.
Because then it opened my eyes of he actually is a pretty just ethical basketball player.
No, seriously.
I just whatever.
I
still don't like him, but Jaylen Brown might be worse. Either way, Jaylen Brown deserves that roster spot over Jalen Williams. He deserves it over Amen Thompson. The same goes for Devin Booker. Jalen Johnson, maybe you want to wait a little bit longer, But Booker has that Olympic experience, and he was, I would say, one of the four most impactful players on that team outside of that big three of KD, Braun, and Curry.
Yeah, exactly.
He was doing everything and more for that team, and no one really saw it. But, I mean, like everyone was kind of singing their praises after the fact about, that role he kind of stepped up into.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that this team is going to need.
No, I absolutely agree.
Any team.
To double down on that Booker point, it cannot be understated how fantastic he was. Because he, unlike, some other players on other teams that kind of demand that same percentage of the ball that they get, when they're on their own star teams without 10 other superstars beside them, Booker just settled into, this like 3-point sniper transition player. He was incredible during that 2024 Olympics. And even though he's going to be a decent bit older, maybe in the low to mid 30s by the time 2028 comes around, I feel like you cannot leave him off of this list. He is so good. He's been so good his whole career, and just because he's had one failed finals run and nothing else to really show for it is why he isn't discussed in the same light as some other guys on this list. So to give a guy like Amen Thompson, who I know I've been a pretty profound non-believer in his game, or at least in the projections that people give to his game at this point in time, I just can't give that roster spot away, especially when I feel like it belongs to Devin Booker. So kind of building on what we have here, there are some people we agree on this list, but we'd probably replace Jalen Williams with Kevin Durant, maybe Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown would be my immediate choice because he could play that kind of 3.
I would immediately take out Jalen Williams, and I would put in Jaylen Brown.
I would personally replace
immediately
Amen Thompson with Devin Booker.
Agreed.
And I'd
keep Cooper Flag.
I would keep Cooper Flag. I believe
Cooper Flag.
Con Kneppel.
That's the athleticism, because I do understand where you maybe want to air younger for athleticism purposes, but Jalen Williams isn't the most athletic guy in the league. Not to say he's not, but I mean, Jaylen Brown's probably more of an athlete even when he'll be 31. And I think Devin Booker's still going to be doing his thing. Mm-hmm. So I totally agree. So you'd sub out J-Dub and Amen for Booker and Brown.
Right. Okay. And so Cooper Flag can stay. I'm totally fine with that projection. A guy who I think they're jumping the gun a bit on is Con Kneppel, who is fantastic. All right. So don't take away from this next part as anything detracting from what Con Kneppel has done. He looks fantastic. And he can grow into, I guess, a similar mold of what Devin Booker played for this team, which is passing, threes, rotation, keep the floor space. Don't, take 20 shots a game, but just be that hero when they need you, and, the gravity is somewhere else on the floor. But as of right now, I think putting Con Kneppel, when he's going to be 22, right? He's still young. That's going to be what, his 3rd year in the league, over a guy like Maxey or Brunson.
Okay, I was about to say.
But either of them, I think, are more deserving right now because they are.
But who?
But who? Well, you know who I'd pick.
Yeah. That's just just two brick walls yelling at each other. There's no point.
I do think Maxey is a better player than Brunson right now. And I think in 2 years, Maxey's really hitting his prime. He's 25 right now. Brunson's going to be 30, a bit older. And if we're going for the young guys on this list, I mean, why not give Maxey the nod, right? But I think they're both equally deserving. And if Brunson got in over Maxey, I wouldn't be upset. In fact, I'd even understand it, really. But I think
Maxey will, honestly.
If it were up to me, I'd take out Kneppel and Amen Thompson and put in Maxey and Brunson instead.
Yeah, look, how much I love Jalen Brunson. I don't think he's going to get picked for the Olympics purely just because of his size.
Right.
Because they don't need him, he is a score-first player.
Right.
And he's one of the best scorers in the league at 6 foot. Like Josh Hart said, pound for pound, best score, or height for height, inch for inch. I don't know, whatever he said. Best scorer in the league at his height. I completely agree with that. But, when you have guards like Cade and Halliburton's not going to be doing too much shooting.
Right.
But those guys all have width, and they are a little bit better on defense. I don't think Brunson will get the nod purely because of that. And Maxey's a better defender. I can agree with that as well.
Right.
So I think Maxey would fit better with the roster.
Right.
But I mean, shout out my boy.
No, I get
shout out my boy JB.
I get that. So I think they're both deserving. And you bring up a good point here about this kind of guard influx. Because Cade Cunningham, Tyrese Halliburton, these kind of 6'5" pass first, pass first guys. Though Kate's not really pass first, but he can still pass. Having those guys, helm the point guard, it kind of is the question of who can back him up as shooting guard. And I feel like Brunson could contribute there, but I feel like that's why they put a guy like Con Knuppel on the team, because they're expecting him to just be shooting behind him. And I think Maxey can fill that role.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd put him a little higher. But as of right now, Knuppel, Amen, and Jalen Williams are kind of in the air. So another guy I'd like to talk about is another one they're jumping the gun a little bit on, and that's Chet Holmgren.
Interesting.
I have many, many reservations about Chet Holmgren, and there's another guy on this roster who they're also very, very bullish on, which is Jalen Duren. So I want to talk about maybe some center big men options for this team.
Okay.
Maybe go the older route with a guy like Embiid or Anthony Davis, or younger, looking at some younger talent. Like if we're gonna take jumps, then you got to talk about guys like Walker Kessler, Ryan Kalkbrenner, it's so early, but they're both like super promising shot blocking bigs.
I was going to say, yeah.
Guy like Jared Allen, who is perennially underrated every year of his career. I feel like those are guys that are better options than Jalen Duren, who's going to be 24, and Chet Holmgren, who is like a center just only based on the size. To me, he's more like
I look at
a power forward, and
yeah.
even then he almost plays like a small forward too. He's not really backing down, getting rebounds, doing stuff that a center does.
I mean, I think the way I look at the big man position for an Olympic roster, you're not really looking for too much scoring output out of them.
Exactly.
Who's guarding Wemby? Who's guarding Jokic?
Right.
Chet Holmgren is not guarding either of those dudes.
Nope.
I think Jalen Duren can give them a little bit more. I mean, look, at the end of the day, no one's going to really be able to defend them that well, but I mean, Chet is like pretty decent at, sliding out to the 3-point line, but I just simply I don't think he has the strength to kind of, maintain like dominance without needing help from, say, a Scotty Barnes or a Tatum down low. Someone else is open. I think you want someone big like Jalen Duren and Bam, two strong, built guys who can hold their own in the paint. You mentioned Jared Allen. I would love that. I would absolutely love that. I'd also love to see Chet just like not make the team.
I
think that'd be hilarious.
I hate him. I hate the way he plays.
And you put Embiid on here. I don't think he would do it, honestly. He's gonna be 34, 35. His knees are probably gonna be like popping out of the socket by that point.
Yeah.
But I would definitely keep Duren and Bam. Like the more we've talked about it, I wasn't sure about Jalen Duren at first.
Yeah.
I don't hate it just because of those defensive purposes. Exactly. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm there on Bam. Obviously, he's earned a roster spot and more. No one should touch his spot on this team.
No.
And Jalen Duren is another one you're gonna have to make a mental jump for. But the improvement he's shown this year as a scorer is promising because he'll be able to hold his own on that end of the floor. They don't need him to be an elite scorer, right? So that's just another facet of the game. He gives great defense, great rebounding, super athletic. The one thing I'd worry about, he's a tiny bit undersized. Like he's not exactly 7 foot. I'd say maybe around 6'10".
I think so. Yeah.
Which that every inch matters against Wemby. I don't know if that's crazy to say.
A little bit, but I know what you mean.
This might be glazing, but I honestly really like the Jalen Duren pick. It's just the Chet one. I just can't get behind it because he just doesn't do enough as a big, especially considering we've only allocated 3 roster spots on the 12-man roster, a quarter of this roster to players above 6'10". When you go against European teams, you're going to have to deal with, like you said, Giannis, Jokic, Wemby. That's just 3 humongous players. I feel like that's putting a lot of pressure on Bam Adebayo, who also is not like a 7-foot behemoth. So I would definitely love if they added a guy like Jared Allen, who... Like, I've been saying things about Jared Allen. Like, you put Jared Allen on the Warriors dynasty, and they would have won, like, 6 in a row.
Oh, my God.
Right? Because he's just one of those just fill-in players. And another guy I'd love to mention is actually his teammate, who, on this article, they listed as, like, a reserve or, like, who their next man up, Evan Mobley. Who's
the more and more... I know I said before I wasn't down for that. The more and more we keep talking about it, what you're looking for at a big man on the roster... I actually think I'd give him that spot.
Yeah, he might
just for defense, and he can slide out wide, hit some threes.
Exactly.
Jared Allen's not doing that. Bam, probably not doing that. Jalen Duren's definitely not doing that.
Yeah.
And you don't need Chet's like scoring prowess down low, or from the perimeter, from the mid range, whatever. You don't need that in the Olympics. I think Evan Mobley actually might be the right call.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little unsure about Evan Mobley because it feels like we've been waiting on him to make that superstar step for a couple years now. But the difference is in the Olympics exactly what you said. What they need out of a big man is defense. And I could just envision Evan Mobley, again, not the biggest guy on the floor if there's a 7-footer out there, but I see he has like the length and the flexibility on defense to kind of guard a guy like Wemby. So I think maybe purely just based on that, I would love to look into a history of like, you know, Wemby guarded by Evan Mobley and see does he fry him or does Mobley lock him up? Or does he just limit him to not dropping 40 on you every game?
Yeah.
I actually would give that roster spot to Evan Mobley. I actually really like that pick.
Yeah. So with that being said, before we finish up, what would be your starting five? Your closing five.
My
and then I'll give you
like last 5 minutes of the gold medal game, who would I put in?
who's out there?
Whew.
With like, you know, this new roster we made. So I'll
Right.
put Mobley in there.
Yeah.
Put Book.
Who are we playing? France?
Yeah.
All right. Let's just say we're hypothetically playing France. So my starting lineup, I would have. Let's go with Cade Cunningham at my 1. I want him handling the ball. I love the flow with which he plays basketball, and I feel like he's just to especially now that they're gonna have Spoelstra as coach, just kind of executing a refined system of basketball. It's so clean from Cade.
Right
so I've got to give it to him.
Right there with you.
And now that we've kind of accounted for the ball handling, we want to put a shooter next to him. So I'm gonna go Ant, who can get you isolation buckets there in the shooting. At my 3.
So yeah, this is where I think we might deviate.
Yeah, this is where we'll get interesting.
Yeah, all right. This is for our 3.
You want to hop in?
I was gonna say we say it on 3.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead. 1,
2, 3.
Scotty
Booker.
Barnes.
Oh wait. Oh, I forgot about Tatum. I was gonna say Tatum.
Oh my God, Tatum.
I was gonna put Scotty at my 4, but I would put Scotty at the 3. Probably slide Tatum to the 4.
Let's do that. Scotty at 3, Tatum at 4.
Really? You agree with Scotty?
Yeah.
I was not
I want the
expecting that.
defense.
I was gonna say.
And it's like when you have that much star power, you have to realize the other guys have to slot back into reserved roles. He can shoot the 3. He can play defense. He's a 3-and-D guy, right? He's like your Jay Crowder of the superstar team, right?
I mean,
and then Tatum, you gotta have him there.
Especially
if he's gonna be like the proverbial like LeBron flag carrier of this year's team.
Oh. Can't happen. That can't happen, dude.
The
That cannot happen.
The 2024 team was just so legendary. Like going from that to this with like 2 guys 30 and that's it. It's just kind of
I know. But we have Cade and Ant, and that brings me some joy. And then at the 5, I'd probably go Bam.
Yeah, I think you gotta go Bam. Maybe
Bam or Mobley. I'm not picky.
Yeah, maybe if he's getting fried, you bring in Evan Mobley. If Wemby's pulling some dumb stuff from the logo, you bring in Mobley for that extra speed, but you just got to go Bam here. The versatility he gives you, he's really
agreed.
We talk about underrated players on this podcast. He might be one of the most underrated because he's just kind of forgotten on this Heat team.
He really is.
He's a top 3 center in the NBA. He's awesome.
The only like slight change I could make would be maybe either like Booker for Scotty. But in that case, I'd want Jaylen Brown in for Tatum, but that's also kind of a smaller lineup.
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on what the other team gives you, right? And that's what makes Olympics so
They're going to throw unique looks out there.
Yeah, because these are like the right problems to have. We have so many good players. How do you put them? Yeah, Book sliding in for shooting. Jaylen Brown over Scotty for shooting, for sure.
There's so many fun lineups. Like I'm just looking at this, like the amount of like starting 5s you can make of this, and just like imagine them playing together. So cool.
We made such a better roster than
we
ESPN
did. Jalen Williams.
Yeah, get that.
No,
get that out of here.
Oh,
get that out of here. No Jalen Williams. no Jalen Williams in our lineups.
Absolutely not. But yeah, with that being said, we're gonna wrap up this episode. We hope everybody enjoyed. And coming up soon, we have NFL free agency, as he mentioned. The PGA season is in swing, and there should be a major tournament soon. So maybe we get a golf episode going. I've been trying to tap in more, so stay up to date with that. And then, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, that's all, guys. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
and have a nice one, guys.
See you next time.